Hey everyone, welcome to Desktop Discourse. I'm here with Mikey and Angel, and I'm Isaiah. And we're going to be talking about inspirations today. Desktop Discourse is intended to provide a meaningful dialogue in safe spaces for students, staff, and everyone alike. So thank you for joining us today, and let's get started.
Okay, so first question is kind of the obvious question of what inspires you? Whoever wants to tackle that first.
Yeah, I would say that most of my inspiration comes from like conversations that I have with my friends, or pieces of art that come to me during like meaningful times in my life. Yeah.
For me personally, inspiration, I get a lot of inspiration from my grandmother. I love her so much. I get a lot of inspiration from my friends and the art that they create. They're very inspiring. I'm very proud of them. I get a lot of inspiration from music, even though I don't do anything musically. I do like getting a lot of inspiration. My favorite artists are like Eric Badu, Solange, who am I missing? People like SZA, stuff like that. I like a lot of like soul R&B type music is really inspiring to me. And yeah, just like everyday life of living, makes you think about stuff.
I get a lot of my inspiration just from my existence, just being a part of the world and being around different spaces, different people, like you guys mentioned. That inspires me. I don't know what necessarily inspires me at any given time. It could be something like a parent or my siblings, or just a project that I want to do that seems really cool. So just being able to navigate the world as myself usually inspires me to create stuff or to get work done. Most of the time, um, sometimes it doesn't, which sucks. Sometimes it's hard to find inspiration for things, but I usually am grounded by just being who I am, and I usually know that I'm doing things just for me at the end of the day, and whatever effect it has on other people, it'll have. But I usually start with the intention of, this is inspiring me, so this is what I want to create, this is what I want to do, this is who I want to help.
Right. So to go along with that question, how has your inspirations or aspirations, whatever you want to call it, changed as you grew up? I know for me personally, like I used to travel a lot or like move around a lot. Because my dad's job, we had to move around so much. So I know that me going to different places changed my mindset so much. And even when I was, before the pandemic, went to Paris, and that completely changed how I viewed the life and stuff like that. So I know different places have changed how I see things and how I get inspired and stuff like that, and the new people I meet. So what do you guys think?
Well, I would say personally, I was a really sad teenager, so I spent a lot of time like trying to turn sadness into like art and music, which did work, but I wouldn't recommend like making yourself sad to to make art, because like there are plenty of things that you can make art about that aren't just your sadness. But it is one thing. It is one of many. So as I've like grown up and kind of like gotten better at taking care of myself and like knowing myself, I have started just making more music about like my experiences, like just general stuff that I encounter in my life, or like love experiences, or something that I've been doing kind of recently is like taking like themes and stuff from movies, or other songs that I listen to, and applying that to my music.
Um, I'm not entirely sure if my inspirations have changed over the course of my life. I mean, for the most part, I've kind of gone through most of my years here on Earth very melancholy, very just like going day to day and just like taking whatever comes to me. Um, because I've been grappling with a lot of different, um, roots of sadness for a long time. And a lot of it was covered up because of the work that I did or was trying to do. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago where I realized that I was very sad. Um, so in doing that, but my inspiration still, I guess, has always stemmed from like social justice, understanding people, understanding how people think, understanding how to make the world a better place, and being able to impact people. And I think a lot of that has reflected on me a little bit. So I guess a little bit of a change is kind of like now me sharing my own experiences and me trying to open up myself a little bit more. But for me, that's very hard. Um, so continuing to try and do that has been a work of inspiration. Like, as I write now and as I make stuff, I usually am not too shy to like talk about my own personal experiences, my own personal anecdotes with that. So I guess that's kind of what it's been. But the basis and the roots of my inspiration has always been, changing the world and whatever that looks like. But in doing that, I figured out how to change myself. So incorporating that into the work that I do and the people I meet, I think is kind of the shift or in the growth, I should say, in my inspirations over the years. Um, but there hasn't been any big life event that has drastically changed what inspires me or who inspires me.
So the next question that I'd like to add is, how do you apply inspiration from various mediums to your work? Like I mentioned before, I will like watch a movie or something and be inspired to like think about a theme from it, and write music around that. This is kind of ridiculous, but I read a fan fiction when I was like 15 or 16 years old, and I wrote like a whole album of music around it. Um, so like, just goes to show that it is possible to apply inspiration from whatever you're doing to something that you're working on. Yeah, that's my response.
For me personally, I feel like my work is like a hodgepodge of my inspirations because I think my life is a hodgepodge of things. And so I feel like there's no accurate way to represent me besides like somehow blending all these random things together. So I have this work that I wrote when I was in Paris. That became like this lyrical essay of some sorts, a hybrid poem, if you will. And I remember feeling so manic when I wrote it. And I think that's just a good representation of all the inspirations I get. When I get all these inspirations, it's just, I can get overwhelmed by it. But once I sit down with all of it, I'm like, this all can correlate somehow. And that's kind of how I mesh work together. It's like somehow this all pertains back to me because I feel like art is very personal. Like sometimes I make art for other people. Most of the time it's for me. So yeah, I tend to like blend the inspirations together because why not?
I usually get like the mediums that I use for my inspiration or that inspires me a lot is reading. Every time I read, I am somehow now thrust into whatever it is I'm reading, whether it's a novel or more academic material, um, or kind of just like information. I'm thrown into it, and I just get inspired to do something with it, to share it. Most of the time is my first instinct and first intuition, and then it becomes of like the thought is like, how do I share it? What is the best way to share it? Do I, I've written a lot of stuff. Most of the stuff I've written is not published. A lot of it just sits on my computer. Um, And then there's like, and now I guess a more tangible thing is the podcast that I have. So that's kind of me sharing the information that I get. That's the inspiration that I take. Like I don't plan too far in ahead. I usually figure out what it is I'm reading that week, and then I'll just make that into an episode. So that's what it is for like writing and stuff. And then also with television, that's what I also study. So I did a lot of inspiration from like watching TV. So whenever I'm just watching TV, it's like I'm not working because I don't think I'm working, but like I take inspiration from that of how I think I can develop a world or a universe of people, of characters, of people that I want to see on the screen, people that look like me, that identify with the identity that I have, and those intersections. So I take a lot of inspiration from what I watch, which is why I'm really diligent about what I watch most of the time. I mean, there are some, guilty pleasure shows that everyone watches, but for the most part, I try to watch shows that do inspire me, that makes me want to keep watching it. But I think the main thing is reading. That's been really good for me. And also to another extent, podcasts, but I just take that in. When I listen to it, I just like absorb it all. And I like to take a lot of inspiration as well from like other various artists, just seeing what they do and how they do it, and just thinking either what I can do different or how can I use that as a foundation for what I'm doing. So yeah, but I think the main core of it is reading. I love to read a lot, and I like to read a whole bunch of different stuff. I usually end up reading like 4 or 5 books at any given time. And I've been pushing myself and challenging myself to read a lot more in one period of time, and it has helped me, and it's been a challenge. Like last night, I read like 90 pages of a book. Like I just sat down and made time for that. Just to get inspiration from it, and then I annotate everything so I come back to it later on, so I don't go in it with a thought of, oh, I have to learn and memorize everything I'm reading. It's kind of just like, let me just read it, let me just take what I can get from it. Whatever sticks, and I'll come back to it when I need to come back to it. So yeah, that's kind of how those different mediums inspire me and are incorporated into the work I do and want to do.
The next question I had is, what inspirations do you draw on most heavily? I would say right now for me, probably a combination of my own life experiences and the music that I listen to, because I've been listening to music a little bit less often lately. I've been really going deep into the Magnus archives, the podcast. So I haven't been listening to music as much lately, but when I do listen to music, it does really have a strong effect on me. Like I'll find that like whatever genre of music I listen to, my brain kind of goes, oh, how could I make that kind of sound? So yeah, I would say that like drawing on those different like styles, plus like how I can apply that to my own life experiences and like what I am going through at the moment, is what motivates me really strongly to make art.
I think I touched on a little bit about like reading and stuff. That's a big it's a heavy inspiration for me. But I think a lot of times it is I get inspired by the work that I'm doing in the current moment. Meaning like if I'm like doing like I'm making a podcast episode or something, it's usually like whatever it is I'm focused on in that sphere or in that week is kind of what I use and incorporate into that work that I do. And using the world around me a lot of the times, because sometimes the weeks get so busy and there's so much to do, I don't have time to just sit, think, and create something new from scratch. So I have to just take what the world and the universe is giving me in that given moment and apply that to whatever it is I want to apply it to, and use that as inspiration for going forward. And also a little bit about the future. I like knowing, or at least thinking I know, what's going to happen in the future. So that can inspire me. So I know that there's something that is like an end goal kind of thing, or what's happening later on. And obviously those plans and those circumstances and situations can change at any given time. But to just have an idea of what is in the future, even if it's something as quick as what's going to happen in the next couple of hours, um, it helps me because I know that I'm doing something and then it's leading to something else. Or even if it's not leading to something else, I think not necessarily having a goal sometimes has been freeing because it lets me to just allows me to just do what I want. Um, so kind of it having two things exist at one time for me is what I took inspiration from.
For myself personally, a lot of my inspiration right now has been heavily involved in memory and in self-discovery. Um, yeah, I've been fortunate enough to start going to therapy and like really delving into like myself, especially now that I'm at a crucial point in my life where I'm like, okay, I'm about to graduate college, like this is like another bubble popping and I'm in the real world and da 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 in the middle of a pandemic. So it's been really interesting thinking back on certain things and how it's affecting me now and how I can go forward with that. And even possibly denying both those things and just living in this present moment right now has been very inspirational to me at this point with my work.
Awesome. Well, I want to take this time to thank you both for like sharing and being here and talking about your inspirations and stuff. Hopefully, it is inspiring to some people who are watching it, and they can take whatever they want from it. But I guess that brings me to like, what makes anything interesting for you to learn? Like, what is it that you're drawn to a lot of the times? I know for me, like I said before, like social justice, activism, that kind of stuff. Like, no matter what I see in that sphere, I'm drawn to it. Whether I engage in it or whatever, it's going to take my interest. Like if I'm looking for a new book to read and I see something about Malcolm X, I'm going to want to pick it up and look at it, whether I buy it or not. But that's kind of what's piquing my interest. Or like if I see some kind of a protest going on, I want to see what I want to like. I'm just intrigued by it. I want to learn more about it. Um, so those are some things that I'm drawn to a lot of times. Anything really artsy, I like a lot. Anything aesthetically pleasing, or that coordinates really well, like color wise. Um, so I can't think of anything specific right now, but things like that. What makes you want to learn?
For me personally, I am very drawn to language and its use. I like when words are played with. I am an actor as well as a poet, as well as creative director. So I like to play with all of those things. Like I like when words strangely make sense together. I like the difference in syntax. I like the use of punctuation. I think stuff like that. I love to read, so things like that really intrigue me. And I like things that visually are not supposed to make sense. I like things that aren't supposed to make sense, but they somehow do. That's like my favorite thing about art is making something very abstract be very real in the moment.
Gosh, I would say I share a lot of Isaiah's ideas. I like things that are very eye-catching, like in terms of art. I like things that are really colorful or like use color in an interesting way. And activism is really important to me also. Like, I don't know. I would say that like learning more about different things that are going on all over the world is just so important to me, and like learning more about other people's experiences and like things that we share, things that are different, how like that can be celebrated is like really important to me.
And I guess for the last question of Desktop Discourse today, how do you celebrate your happiness and success? We get inspiration from a lot of different things, and I think it's safe to assume that some of those inspirations do manifest into something tangible. or into something you have shared. And that's, to me, that's successful. Just being able to take some time to do some work and be vulnerable and put it out there. I think that in and of itself is success. And for me, I celebrate that. I usually share it with the people that are close to me, because a lot of times I do things so quickly that it's hard for me to let everyone know what I'm doing every step of the way. So usually when I'm finished or I'm near the goal or near whatever, I just, that's how I celebrate my success a little bit, is like just telling the people I care about what I'm doing. I also like taking naps. This is also like a duality thing where I take naps when I'm sad, but also when I'm really happy. So you never really know what I'm taking a nap for. But I think that's just taking that moment to just like wind down and just like collect myself and just recharge. That's really helpful for me. And then like celebrating my happiness. I mean, just like small things that just makes me feel good about the day. Like I do like small things like grocery shopping. I enjoy that. That's a nice way to celebrate something for me. Or just treating myself to something. Watching a really good movie and like having a good snack or something, or a really big dinner I make for myself or something. Usually small things, nothing too big or extravagant. But yeah, that's kind of how I celebrate some of my successes. And it kind of gets like wrapped into like just everyday life. But sometimes I put a little bit more onus into it once I'm like happy I've accomplished something or I've done something.
Yeah, again, I share a lot of that with you, Isaiah. I also take naps when I am depressed and very happy, because I like treating myself to rest, even though rest is a basic human need. But I also really like, I don't know, like I'll order myself food. I've been on a huge Taco Bell kick lately when I have like when I have the resources to order myself food, and like I don't know, like if I've just finished working on something that was really difficult for me, like it feels really nice to like take care of myself in kind of a more extravagant way. Yeah. That would be mine.
I celebrate by getting fucked up with my friends, or like stuff like that. I like to have fun. I like to just, enjoy the moment, be happy. I'm very big on like the now and focusing on the now. I like to read. Like when I accomplish a bunch of stuff, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have to do anything. I can read this book that I really want to read. Reading, unfortunately, has become a reward since I'm in college, but like hopefully afterwards it'll be like I can read whenever. Or I'll like go watch a movie I really wanted to watch, but really I like getting fucked up with my friends or getting fucked up with my partners, whatever it comes down to.
Well, I think that wraps up this episode of Desktop Discourse. Thank you, Mikey and Angel, for sharing your inspirations. We greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone is inspired by what you're doing and what you seek to do. So thank you, and thank you everyone that's listening and watching.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.